Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. Now that we have Week 12 kicked off with Thursday Night Football, we're going to look into the Sunday day games one by one. So if this is not the pregame of the two teams that you're looking for, go look for the other video that should be on the channel. But otherwise, let's get into this one. So moving right into our team data for this next game, you have Cleveland and Las Vegas, where Las Vegas is favored on the money line with a spread of 3 points and a total line of 36.5. And there's your team averages for the season. And then if we look at the rankings, you have Cleveland with a pretty bad offense overall, definitely bottom third, almost the worst in the league for passing, almost the worst in the league for scoring for themselves, and pretty bad at rushing. The only thing they have is they're pretty good at the tight end rank, very much disproportionately from their passing rank. Defensively, they have a little bit more to show for, with an allowed scoring rank of 18, that's a little below average, but a pretty good passing rank of 4, and about an average rank of 14 for the allowed rushing rank. For Las Vegas, they have something of a similar story with a pretty bad offense, with a scoring rank of 30, a better passing rank at 24, but almost the worst in the league at rushing at 31. Defensively, they're about average again too, with an allowed passing rank of 17, allowed rushing rank of 15. They do lack at scoring for themselves at 24, but notably they are also very good at either throwing to their tight ends or defending the tight end spot. Looking into our quarterbacks, you have Shedeur Sanders, who had his first game last week after Dylan Gabriel got hurt, and it looks like Gabriel's out again, but so it looks like Sanders should be next up to play here. He only had 1.5 fantasy points that last game and had one interception whenever he was in there, and then of course didn't make very much of an impact on the rushing game yet since he's only had one game. For Geno Smith, you have him averaging about 11.7 fantasy points per game. He has 13 interceptions with no other turnovers. There's his season averages. And then looking at how he impacts the rushing game, he gets about 16% of the team's carries with 3.4 average carries per game. And over here it's a little smaller, so maybe about 13% of the team's rushing yards. For the running backs, unfortunately, I still don't have Quishon Junkins working. I don't know why that's not quite working, but I need to look into that and hopefully get that fixed for this next coming week. But for now, all I can show is Ashton Genty, where he averages 14 fantasy points per game, and he's had one rushing fumble. And then there's his season averages. And if we look at his share, he gets about 70.3% of the team's rushing carry share and 71.8% of the team's rushing yard share. And then moving into our number one receivers with Jerry Jeudy and Trey Tucker. Jeudy averaging 7.3 fantasy points per game and Tucker averaging 12.2. There are no turnovers between the two of them, so I'll show their season averages and look at their share, with Jerry Jeudy getting about 22.4% of the team's target share and 20.4% of the team's receiving yard share. That gives him about the second largest on the team, depending on which stat you're looking at. Largest in targets, second largest in receiving yards. For Trey Tucker, he gets about 22.3% of the team's target share and about 31% of the team's receiving yard share. Similar to Jerry Jeudy, but opposite, he gets the largest receiving yard share on the team, and he's just under the largest target share on the team. And then for the number two receivers, you have Cedric Tillman and Tyler Lockett, with Tillman averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game and Lockett averaging 3.3. These two receivers also have no turnovers, so we'll look at their season averages. And then down here with their share, Tillman getting about 8.6% of the team's target share and 9.6% of the team's receiving yard share. And over here with Tyler Lockett, unfortunately we can't see these numbers, but you can go back and see them or see them with the tight ends. And we know that he hasn't been with the Raiders this whole season, so these might be smaller numbers for what it's worth anyway. But I'm going to say this is probably about 15, maybe a little less at 14%, and this might be close to 10%. And then now we have our tight ends with Harold Fanning and Brock Bowers. Before we get into the tight ends too much, we can go back and look real fast and say Tyler Lockett gets about 12.8% of the team's target share and about 9% of the team's receiving yard share. Now getting back to the tight ends, with Harold you get about 9.9 fantasy points per game, and Brock Bowers gets just under 15 fantasy points per game. Neither tight end has any turnovers, so here's their season averages. And looking at their target share, you get Harold Fanning with about 19% of the team's target share and 24% of the team's receiving yard share. That's about the opposite of Jerry Jeudy, where he's the largest receiving yard share and he's the second largest target share. For Brock Bowers, he's at 22.7% of the team's target share and 28% of the team's receiving yard share, which is a similar story as before, where he gets the most targets on the team, but not quite the most receiving yards. And this would make sense given both teams are pretty high ranked for their tight ends. So there's all your data in this game. It seems like this should be a bit of a slow, maybe low-scoring game, as indicated by the line, since the Raiders have a pretty poor offense, as does Cleveland, and they both have a little better defenses, so they'll probably just stop each other a bunch throughout the game. So every score is going to count a whole bunch. In that case, if you look at the scoring ranks, it is slightly better for Cleveland, but not by much. So I still think this game could be a toss-up, and we'll just have to see who comes out on top. So there's all your data for that game. I hope you found it interesting and useful. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe. And leave a comment on what else you might want to see in the future. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.